Welcome everybody to our third episode of the Community Town Hall for Reach Council and United Way. We're so excited that you're joining us this evening. We're going to give everyone just a few minutes to get logged on, and then we're going to get started. Tonight we're going to be talking about prescription drug safety, disposal, and opioid awareness. So I want to thank you all for coming in and joining us this evening. You may notice on your screen that things may look a little different than your normal Zoom meeting. So this is a Zoom webinar. And so we're not going to be able to see who is actually participating in the presentation with us. You're just going to see the panelists that are on your screen now and the presentation itself. So we're unable to see you, but we ask you to please say hello to us in the chat box. If you have any questions on anything as we do the presentations this evening, please feel free to list those in the Q&A. We have a team member that's going to be monitoring those, and we're going to try really hard not to miss anything on that. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you for joining us this evening. This is brought to you by Reach Council and the United Way of West Ellis County. If you have not received your resource bag yet from us, that's not a problem. We'll make sure that you get one. What I'll do is I've got the information here for our bag pickup. There's a contact number listed for Jen Hagelin. So you can call our office at 972-723-1053. Her extension is 104. Or you can email her at the email address that we have listed there. We also list our office address, but due to COVID, we're not in our office all the time. So please, before you come, make sure you reach out to one of us so we can make sure that we're there to meet and greet you. So this is going to give you an overview of what the presentation is going to look like. We're going to learn safe RX drug storage, disposal methods. We're going to bring opioid awareness and overdose prevention information to you. We've got some great guest speakers on with us this evening, and I will be introducing those to each of you as we get started and give you a little bit of a bio on each. As I mentioned, there is going to be a Q&A segment that will be on after all of our panelists have had a chance to do their presentation. Again, we've got three guest speakers that are going to be talking to you this evening. As they're doing their presentation, again, if you have a question, put it either in the chat box or in the Q&A as we go along. And please be sure to stick around because we're going to do our gift card drawing at the very end. So everybody that's still on the presentation at that time, your name is going to go on a spinning wheel, and then we'll be doing the drawing. And we've got 3 of the HEB $50 gift cards. So one of the things that we want to talk to you about on prescription drug safety, and this also goes along with the over-the-counter medication. Be sure to keep your medications out of reach of children at all times. We want you to monitor your medications, know how many pills that you have in a bottle. That way, if somebody has gotten into your medication, you'll be more aware of it. Also, check for your expiration date. Don't use any medication that could be out of date. And always follow the directions on your labels. Sometimes it's not good to mix medications and things like that, and not to take your medications with alcohol and things. So please follow the directions on your labels. I want to talk to you about storage now. And as you'll notice on the bottom of your screen, if you are interested in receiving one of our little nifty MedSafe boxes, I've got the box here, and then I'll actually show you what the display looks like. It can actually, once it opens up, you can actually mount it inside of a cabinet or in a drawer. It comes with keys. So if you would be interested in receiving one of our med boxes, it does lock. If you will, type your name into the chat box, and what we'll do is we can go back, and what we'll do is we'll reach out to you within the next day or so and make arrangements to get that delivered to you or have you come by the office and pick it up. So again, if you're interested in receiving one of our medication safes, because we encourage you to please lock up your meds, because the #1 point of access for our youth are in typically home medicine cabinets. And many of us, use kitchen cabinets as well as our bathroom cabinets. So it's a good idea to keep your medications put up and out of reach. The other thing I wanted to talk about, inside of your resource bag, you will have received one of our little timer cap bottles. And I actually love this because as I'm getting older, sometimes I don't always remember if I take my medication. So the bottle, it'll tell you on there when the last time you had your bottle open. When you take the lid off to remove your medication and put it back in, you put the lid back on it and it tells you, it starts counting down again when your bottle was last open. So again, those are some of our timer caps. If for some reason you're having problems or difficulty with yours, please let me know and we'll get that one replaced for you. But it's good to keep your medicine, locked up, especially painkillers and things like that. All right. We also want to talk about safe RX disposal. And so we've got several different methods. The first one I want to talk to you about is the prescription drug take-back event that's coming up on October the 24th. We've got many locations in our Ellis County area that's going to be participating. So in your resource bag, you'll see a card that looks like this, and it'll give you the location address on who's participating and the times that they're going to be available. One of the reasons that we participate in the prescription drug take-back is to safely dispose of any expired or unused medication. We ask that you don't flush your medications or throw them in the trash because it does get into our water supply, and then when they're in our landfills and it rains, it can leach into our water supplies. But the DEA has done a biannual DEA prescription drug take back that started back in October of 2011. And you'll notice on the screen what we've collected during those times. And these totals are from all of our law enforcement agencies within Ellis County. We take those up to, I say we, Ellis County Sheriff's Department takes these up to the DEA. They get weighed and recorded, and then they safely dispose of them through incineration. So the only thing that can't be taken at the DEA take-back events is the inhalers, because they've got the little gas cartridge deal on it, and so they can explode during incineration. And they're unable to take sharps or needles. And so if you have questions on what to do with your needles, feel free to let us know at the office. We do have an information form that's provided to us by the state on ways to safely dispose of your sharps and your needles. I did understand from the DEA that this year for the take-back event, they're also taking the cartridges from the e-cigarettes. They just ask that the battery is removed from your e-cigarettes before you dispose of them, but they can safely dispose of those this year. But since 2011, we've collected over 11,163 pounds of medication, and that is prescription and over-the-counter medication. So at these drop box locations, you can bring, liquid cough medicines and things like that, pet medications. Sometimes if we have a family member that has passed, you're stuck with trying to deal with a lot of medication, and these prescription drug take-backs events are a good way to be able to dispose of those. At this particular event, all you have to do is drive up and drop off as shown in the picture here. We also have a permanent disposal program in Ellis County at the police departments that are listed on the screens. Again, it's on your card on the back side of the one that has the prescription drug take-back event on it. You can take your medications during business hours at any of these locations throughout the year, so you don't have to keep them in your medicine cabinets. And the looks of the different drop boxes, these are a couple of the ones that we have in Ennis, Waxahachie, and Red Oak, but we do have locations in Milford, Italy, Maypearl, various locations. Again, check the card that's in your resource bag for locations near you. I apologize, my dogs have decided all of a sudden that they want to bark. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the doTERRA bag. Inside of your resource bag, you should have received one of our doTERRA bags. This is another safe way to be able to dispose of your medications. The bag that was put in, I believe it can hold up to 45 pills, 6 ounces of liquid, or 6 medication patches. You put them inside here. It's charcoal based, so when you add your medication, add water to it, let it kind of sit, it'll fizz just a little bit, then you'll seal it up, and then it's safe to be able to actually dispose of in the trash. It is biodegradable, and the carbon or charcoal that's on the inside, it will deactivate the medication and make it safe for disposal. Again, if you have any questions regarding the doTERRA bags or need additional doTERRA bags, please reach out to us, because we do have a good supply of those that we can make available. We also included in your bag what is called a takeaway bag, which will look like this. And inside the bag is going to be a card that shows the University of Houston. And this is a partnership that we're doing with the state and the University of Houston as another safe way to be able to dispose of medications. So what you would do is you would put your medications, I would say, black out your name on your bottle and things like that. Drop it in the bag. You'll seal it up. Inside the bag, before you seal it, remove the card. And if you don't mind filling out the information, they are doing a study to determine what kind of medications are being disposed of, or that there is a need to be able to dispose of. So it's a postage paid envelope or postcard. If you'll just drop it in the mail at the same time that you do the postage paid takeaway bag. So again, this is another safe way to be able to dispose of your medications. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jen at the information, her email address that was listed, or you can contact our office and we'll be happy to help you with that. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I would like to introduce you to Jen Hagelin. She is the director of our community programs, and she's going to talk to you about Narcan.
There we go. Thanks, Sherry. Yes, we were so excited to provide Narcan for you in your resource bags. Inside your resource bag, you'll have, thanks, Sherry. Sherry's holding up. You'll have a zipper bag with Tony on it. And in there are 2 doses of Narcan. And that is a nasal spray that was created to overturn or reverse an overdose. It is highly recommended by the Surgeon General that this be added to your toolkit, so to speak, in case of an emergency, like you would know CPR or something. This is just another thing that's really nice to have around. Yeah, so we are going to show you a video. It's just really quick, under 3 minutes, a quick training about kind of the how and when you would want to use Narcan. You do have additional information in that Tony bag if you have any more questions as well. So let me just share my screen here.
Before we talk about what to do during an opioid overdose, let's look at the list of opioids. It includes the street drugs heroin and fentanyl, as well as prescription pain medications. Anyone taking prescription or street opioids is at risk for an overdose. Those who are at greatest risk inject opioids, take higher doses, mix opioids with other medications that may cause sedation, or have a pre-existing medical condition. An opioid overdose can lead to death if not treated. Here are some signs of a possible overdose. It's hard to wake the person up, or they seem overly sleepy or confused. Their breathing has slowed or stopped. Their pupils are the size of pinpoints. Their lips or fingernails are blue. If you see any of these signs and you suspect an overdose, call 911 immediately. Then administer the naloxone, also called Narcan nasal spray. Remember, naloxone only works on opioids. It will not treat an overdose from sedating medications such as benzodiazepines, which include Valium, Klonopin, Ativan, and Xanax. Start by moving the person to their back, then follow the 3 Ps: peel, place, and press. Take the spray out of the box and peel back the corner tab to open. Hold the spray with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and your first and middle fingers on either side of the nozzle. Tilt the person's head back and support their neck with your hand. Gently place the tip of the nozzle into either nostril until your fingers are against the bottom of their nose. Press the plunger firmly and all the way to give the entire dose. There is only one dose, so do not test it first. Then roll the person to their left side. If they do not wake up in 2 or 3 minutes, administer a second dose of naloxone. Stay near them until emergency medical help arrives. Contact your local pharmacy to find the most convenient location to purchase naloxone. More detailed instructions on how to use naloxone can be found inside the package. Preventing deaths caused by opioid overdose starts with all of us. We share the responsibility of safe care for everyone in our community.
There we go. Okay, so that's all we have as far as what is in your resource bags for tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherry, and she's going to start introducing our awesome speakers for you.
Thanks, Jen. Well, first off, I want to talk about one of our guest speakers this evening. His name is Derek Lehu. He graduated in 2001 from Texas Tech School of Pharmacy with a Doctor of Pharmacy degree. Derek has worked for HEB for close to 18 years, with the last 16 and a half years as a pharmacy manager at the HEB pharmacy in Waxahachie. Derek says that his work is his passion and his mission field. He loves what he does and is blessed to get to do it every day. He married his high school sweetheart, Melissa, and they've been happily married for over 26 years. They have 3 children, Emma, who's 20, Faith is 19, and Samuel is 17. They own a small farm in Maypearl with 6 alpacas, 1 llama, 2 cows, 2 heifers, 8 rabbits, 4 dogs, 3 cats, and 21 chickens. Please help me welcome Derek to our speaking engagement tonight. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. How are y'all today?
Good.
Good deal. Let's see if I can get this screen. All right. Everything looking good? Awesome. All right. So, like I said, I've been a pharmacist for a number of years now. I've been working in the field for about 30 years. And I was asked to kind of talk about specifically what is an opioid and some things along those lines. So we're just going to jump right in and talk about that. So basically an opioid is a drug in a class, and it suppresses the person's ability to feel pain. In your body, you have these opioid receptors, and opioid blocks that receptor and doesn't allow you to feel that pain. It was originally made from the poppy plant, so they found it there. And then these can be made from natural substances, and we'll get a little deeper into this. And those are called opiates, or they can be synthetic or semi-synthetic, and those are called opioids. And then the nerd in me says, okay, so are all opiates opioids, or all opioids opiates? So that's what the last slide is there. This because that's me. All right, let's see. Why did it not go too deep? There we go. All right, so they have natural opioids. Those are called opiates, and that's your opium, your heroin, your morphine, and codeine. Basically, that structure, it just occurs in nature, and that's how they basically make it and get to it so that they can make it into a product that is used. Then they came up, and there were some certain side effects with those, and we'll kind of get into that, but the breathing rate, there are some negative side effects to it that when you overdose, you have issues and can cause death. Well, they wanted some stronger pain stuff, so they actually came out with synthetic opioids, and that's like your fentanyl and methadone. This is 100% made in a lab. It's not a natural occurring substance. You won't find it in nature, but the structure of it is very similar to the poppy plant. Now, the downside to these is they were 50 to 100 times as more potent. So just a little bit can go not very well for you. And then they also have a semi-synthetic. So they kind of took the natural occurring substance, they tweaked it a little bit, and they made something that had fewer side effects, but a higher potency. So the hydrocodone and oxycodones, they don't suppress the breathing rate and some of those negative side effects quite as much as your heroin or morphine and codeine. It's still a possibility, so you have to be careful with it. All right, and so this I just pulled off the CDC website. This one, moving this around. So this talks, so it looks like they got a lot of data from 1999 and on, and the number of drug overdose deaths have decreased by a whole 4% from 2017 to 2018. But the number was still 4 times higher in 2018 than in 1999. And in nearly 70% of those deaths in 2018 involved an opioid. That's roughly 47,000 deaths were caused by an opioid. So that's definitely part of the pandemic, or not pandemic, but epidemic of what's going on. The rest of it just kind of talks about some decreases in the opioid or the prescription opioid. The thing to look at there, I think, is the synthetic opioid involved death rates, taking out methadone, increased by, what's that, 10%. So that was a decent amount that it went up. Okay, and then you go to the next screen. All right, so we kind of go through, we see that. What are the issues that you got? So when someone takes their prescription medication, they're issued it for their pain, or typically it is for their pain, so they're going to be issued that. You know, they may have a legitimate use for the pain or the legitimate need of the pain controlling medication, but then they enjoy some of the things going on with it and they can become addicted. Now, yeah. So, and we'll get to some of that in a second too, as far as that. But so when you get home or when you're going around and you see, or you're concerned for someone about being addicted to opioids, what are some behaviors? What are some habits? What are some things that we need to look at for these folks? And this is a list that, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine, the inability to control opioid use. Basically, you can't keep from taking it. You just feel this need, like I've got to have it, I got to have it. Even if you don't, you're still taking it. Your inability to, or your uncontrollable cravings, drowsiness, clearly you're going to be drowsy all the time. That's, I mean, it's a CNS suppressant. So it suppresses your central nervous system and just makes you really dull. It changes in sleep habits. You don't sleep normal like anybody else. You tend to be awake late at night, sleep a lot during the day, which is that change in sleep habits. Weight loss, frequent flu-like symptoms. Didn't make much sense. Why do you feel like you're having flu? Because you have withdrawals. So when you are coming down and you're coming off and that opioid, your body's needing it, it's physically or chemically dependent, and it's needing it, you feel like crud. You feel like you've been hit by that Mack truck. So you're going to have those flu-like symptoms. And I'm trying a little bit. That's what I wanted. All right. So the other thing is decreased in libido. So, you know, if you're married and stuff and all of a sudden your spouse is like, nah, you know, I'm not too interested in you and stuff anymore. Well, that could be a sign if you're concerned on that. Not the only sign. Lack of hygiene, you stop showering, you stink. I don't want to be around you. Change in exercise habits. So you look at these folks that may enjoy exercising and want to exercise all of a sudden they're stopping, or isolation from family and friends. This one's pretty interesting, the stealing from family and friends. So you get so addicted to these things, to these opioids, that your common sense tends to leave and you begin to steal from your family, your friends, or even your business. Sadly, I do know of pharmacists and healthcare professionals that have been addicted to it, and they have stolen and lost their way of income, which leads to the last one, new financial difficulties. So those are just some of the signs of an opioid addiction that you can kind of look for. Now, there's several other things. It doesn't, and you don't have to like go through a checklist, but if you're concerned, definitely have a conversation with them. Oh, I did skip. Okay, good, because this, okay. Sorry, we're going to go back just a little bit. This slide got skipped. So what is an opioid? We kind of talked about that a little bit. It blocks that opioid receptor, which causes your brain to perceive a less amount of pain. And while it's beneficial in treating the pain, it can, in higher doses that are more than what your pain threshold here, you take more medication than you need. Now you're going to get a lot of those side effects a whole lot. Euphoric, happy, that high, carefree feeling. And a lot of folks like that. You kind of feel sometimes like you're able to separate from the world a little bit, or you don't have to face all the issues you got, or you just like that feeling. And we talked about some of those negative side effects. Sorry, when it skipped this slide, it kind of threw me off a little. It can suppress that breathing rate. So the normal breathing rate for an adult at rest is 20 breaths a minute. Well, if you suppress it and you go to 10 breaths a minute, you're not going to get the oxygen that's needed for the body. It can definitely cause confusion. If anybody's ever had a pain medication of any sort, I cannot stand them because I can't think straight and it drives me nuts. I can't put A plus B doesn't equal C and it drives me nuts. Constipation. So one of the ways it works is it does stop your intestinal tracts move kind of like a worm. It slows that worm-like movement down to where it is not pushing things along. And before long, you're going to have some issues. definitely it can cause some nausea. Now, the DEA, a vast majority of opioids, codeine is about the only one that comes to mind in certain dosages, would not be considered a C2. A C2 is your same class that your Adderall and your Ritalin and those kind of things are in. Well, it's also where your morphine, your methadone, your oxycodone, hydrocodone is now. So that's your class 2. And most class 2s are drugs with a high potential for abuse and with the use potentially leading to severe psychological or physical dependence. Meaning your psychological, you think you need it, and then physical dependence, your body just craves it. And the sad thing with it is when you become dependent on something and it's a physical dependence, you have to increase that dose to get the same high. So you started off at a certain dose and we'll just say 5 milligrams. Hey, I'm doing 5 milligrams every 6 hours or so, and that's getting me what I need. Well, over time, now you got to bump that up to 7.5 every 5 hours. And so now that your body needs a higher dose more frequently, which then leads to people to make really dumb decisions and stuff. Poor decisions, we'll say. All right, so we talked about that. Okay. Now, some of the solutions to the opioid issue, we don't have a complete solution, which is why it is still an issue going on right now. The CDC has guidelines for opioid use that they give to prescribers. I know Johns Hopkins, I've got a friend who is an ER physician with Johns Hopkins, and they do a lot of stuff with trying to teach. They change how they teach in medical school, how they need to prescribe opioids. Before it was just like, you're in pain, here, have some hydrocodone. They're really working at getting away from that. So the CDC has a guideline for that. There's non-opioid medications, there's non-medication options, and then definitely being educated in awareness. Things like this and other programs that really help educate people to this. So when we talk about non-opioid medications, we talk about NSAIDs. NSAIDs is your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. That is going to be something over-the-counter, ibuprofen, which is Motrin and totally forgot the other name. Anyway, ibuprofen is the generic name. Naproxen, the generic name is Naproxen is the generic name. Brand name is Aleve. So those are your NSAIDs. It reduces inflammation, which can help in a way slow down that pain and stuff. But there's other side effects of that, so definitely talk to the doctor before you do that. OTC analgesics, the main one's Tylenol. Again, you definitely want to talk to your doctor and stuff about that, because when you put stuff in like your Norco or some of your other opioids, they put that hydrocodone, and they also put Tylenol in there to try to help decrease that ability to overdose and stuff. It also helps with the pain, but now you're going to get Tylenol overdose, and that's no good. And then certain antidepressants can help. So if someone's in chronic pain, depression is very, very, very common. So if someone's in constant pain, that's one of the things the physician needs to look at as well, or they tend to. But there are certain antidepressants, one being duloxetine or Cymbalta, that actually has an indication to help with certain types of pain. So we've got different options there. We don't have to go straight to an opioid or just assume an opioid. Then we talk about non-medication options. So just because you're in pain doesn't mean you have to take a pill. Most people in American society now think, oh, I got something wrong, I got to take a pill. I got high cholesterol, I got to take a pill. That'll fix it, and I can still eat whatever I want. Got high blood pressure? Well, whatever, I'll take a pill and keep eating all the salt I want. It's not the answer. I make my living selling medication. I do not think medication is the end all to every answer. It is not. Most of the time, it is a combination of many things. If we want to lower your cholesterol or lower your blood pressure, we're always going to tell you diet and exercise first. We don't want you to have to be on meds. So all that to say, non-medication options. Physical therapy. Seeing a PT therapist, these guys are brilliant. I wouldn't have made it past my knee surgery very well without my PT guy. Massage therapy. Who doesn't want a massage? I'll take a massage all day long. You got chiropractors out there. I've seen a chiropractor, and man, they got more power in a thumb. I don't know how she did that, but she worked it all out, and it was awesome. Cognitive behavioral therapy. So this one here, so there may be certain triggers that cause pain, certain ways that you move or things that you don't even know of that can cause some of these pain. And then you think, well, I need a pain medicine. Well, these folks that are specialized in that can really help out. Sometimes it's as simple as a heating pad, getting acupuncture, And definitely if you have certain pain, before you exercise, definitely check with your physician to make sure the exercise you're going to do will not continue to harm anything else. And then definitely losing weight can really help with a lot of pain. I know like my knees are sore all the time and I bend over and do all this kind of stuff. I know one of the things is keep my weight off. It'll help out. My mom has OA. She lost osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all kinds. But when she lost a lot of weight, it really did help that out. So now when we talk about opioid misuse, so it can happen to anyone at any time, as I believe the next two speakers are going to kind of talk about. Don't think anyone or someone's immune. Don't think it's never going to happen to me. You always have to be aware and be watching it, especially with yourself and your loved ones. What are some ways that we can avoid a misuse or overdose? Definitely, kind of like what Sherry talked about earlier, take your medication exactly as it's prescribed. Tell your doctor about all the meds you're taking. Don't just assume that, well, he knows all that. No. Just don't ever make an assumption on that. Tell him everything you're taking. There's certain combinations you don't want to do with an opioid. Definitely a benzo, kind of like what they talked about on the Narcan. The Narcan's not going to stop, is that class of medications. And then don't take your medication more often or more of your medication than what is instructed on the label by your physician. If you're taking that as normal and stuff, like it's prescribed and your pain is getting worse, call your doctor. They want to know. I have never met a physician that did not want to know more or kind of get together with you about your pain if it's not working. And then never mix pain medications with alcohol, sleeping pills, or any illicit substance. If you ever, and then we kind of talked about the signs of the overdose. The Narcan video touched on that as well. And then having naloxone to keep an overdose from becoming fatal. And it becomes fatal because it suppresses that respiratory rate so much, you're not going to get enough oxygen. And you got so much of that opioid in you, yourself, your body's not going to overcome that on its own. So you got to have that naloxone. And it basically, it binds to that receptor more than the opioid. So you got two things fighting for this same receptor. Naloxone is going to kick that opioid off every time it wins. All right. And then you want to teach your family members and friends how to respond to an overdose. And I mean, at any point, if you're going to have this kind of a product in your home, you need to teach folks about that, especially if someone were in chronic pain or they needed it all the time. You got to teach them. And then again, as Sherry talked about, dispose of unused medication properly. Reach Council has many great ways to take care of that. And it's actually a law now that every pharmacy has to provide a way for you to dispose of medications. Now, we could have got that drop box like what the police precinct, or let me see, the police officers have, or the whatever, departments, that's the word, like the police departments have. That was going to cost a whole lot of money. So we actually went with a thing of a little disposal packet, and you can just come by the pharmacy and ask for one. Every pharmacy has to have some way for you to dispose of medications. And instead of us taking them all in, which can cause all kinds of issues, we will dispense, or we will give that to you for free. It is never going to be a charge for that. So, and then again, we're going to talk about the signs of opioid overdose, with which you would need that Narcan or naloxone. You got that vomiting, swelling of the face, tongues, lips, a slow pulse, difficulty breathing, uncontrolled muscle movements. You're going to have some spasms, that extreme drowsiness, like in the video when we saw that man passed out. The blue nails, lips, or fingers, those are huge. Small pupils, that pupil, like I got a light shining in front of me. My eyes should be pretty wide. And if you, that's why, you'll see the doctor shine that light in your eye sometimes. If your pupils are already constricted in the middle of the sunlight like it was today, that's not a good sign. You get a pale face, clammy skin, the inability to stay awake, and then you're not going to feel pain because all your opioid receptors are blocked. And now also, if you want some more information on opioids, definitely Reach Council has a ton of great things. The other couple things here, CDC has some great materials. APHA is a pharmacist, American Pharmacist Association. It's a phenomenal resource. This specific one, that website had a ton of stuff. Mayo Clinic, another phenomenal resource. Johns Hopkins had some, it just wasn't as user-friendly. All right, so that is all of my presentation. So I am gonna stop talking here and just kind of let Sherry have it back. And definitely, if you have questions and stuff, we have that time at the end, chat box, shoot us those questions. Let us know what you're concerned about, what your thoughts are. We'd love to do anything we can to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us this evening about that. So our next guest speaker, her name is Suzanne Seward. She is the founder of Love Cassidy Foundation. She is the mother of 3, Zach, Samantha, and Cassidy. She has worked in the design field most of her career, and she has a home redesign staging business. She always has a house full of dogs and a cat named Middies. She likes to travel, loves chocolate, and spending time with her family and friends. Everything that Suzanne has experienced in her life has prepared her for what she is doing now. No book could have taught her these things. It's Suzanne's faith that keeps her going, and helping others is the core of who Suzanne is. Let us please welcome Suzanne.
Hi, everybody. All right. So I wanted to give a little bit about my story and Cassidy's story. And this is Cassidy. And we lost her in 2012 to an accidental heroin overdose. And she started when she was about 12 with anxiety, depression, different things like that. Of course, teenage years came and it just got exacerbated as she got older. And she started off the typical smoking cigarettes and moved into pot. And unfortunately, I was one of those naive moms. I had no idea that this was going on. And looking back, I see a lot of signs, but then I had no idea. And so she struggled for several years through this. And when I finally realized that there was an issue, we got her into some counseling and some therapy, and she was doing very, very well. She's always been a straight A honor student. She just could light up a room. It was just crazy how well she was just everybody's friend. She wanted to be a marine biologist, and she just loved life. And the depression, the anxiety, it really got to her. And when she unfortunately had the pills put in front of her, it was like that warm blanket. And it just went down from there. And as a lot of people do, because of the cost of the pills, she went to heroin. And this was over probably about a 5-year period of time that this transpired. But through it all, she kept who she was. It was really hard for me to deal with this because I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I didn't understand it. I didn't have a lot of people to help me through it, and there wasn't a lot of organizations out there. There wasn't a lot of help. And so I just did what I could as a mom, learned what I could, and I just fought for her. I fought and I fought. And she did the little roller coaster. She would do well, and then she kind of went back down and then came back up. And about a year before we lost her, she had a seizure due to too many drugs in her system. And that was when we finally were able to get her into treatment. She was like, I gotta get help. And she got in and did it remarkably well, started getting back in touch with her friends. And she had graduated about a year ahead of all of her friends. And we'd started looking for some colleges. She was ready to start getting her well, her education going again. And so we just thought, oh God, we've got this, you know, we think we've got, you know, it's going well. And probably about the end of May, the dealer got back in front of her, and she unfortunately just, like, she got very involved in the heroin, and it went on for quite a few months. And like so many other parents, you just keep fighting. You keep fighting for your child, and you don't give up. And in July, at the end of July, she had had a very serious car wreck, and we thought we had lost her from the car wreck, but thank God we didn't. And she, about a week and a half after the car accident, she just came and she said, Mom, I'm done. She goes, this is not who I am. This is not where I want to be. Her dream was always to help save the coral reefs. And so she started staying home. We started getting her some help. She wanted to get into treatment. And so we started finding one. She, of course, was a water baby, a beach girl, and we were heading in a really good direction. She had been probably about a week and a half. She truly had been clean and as best as possible. And she was heading out Thursday to go to treatment. And after how many phone changes and phone number changes, keeping her safe, the dealer, he got back in front of her. And I still, to this day, don't know how that all happened, but it did. And she passed away. He supplied her with some heroin that unfortunately was about 60% pure. And it took her that day. And so because of this, and it made me realize, watching her and all of her friends through the high school years and that last year or so of her life, so many of her friends and the kids, they dealt with so much of the life issues. But not only that, but it was the anxiety, it was the low self-esteem. There was so much on these kids, and she actually found refuge. She loved to sing, and she played the electric and the acoustic, and which sometimes I would definitely have to shut the bedroom door because it got a little loud, but you know, she loved playing. And so I kind of just started thinking that we had to do something. We had to do something for these kids. And so we started Love Cassidy, and it is a 501c3 out of here in Grapevine. And we work with the families, the children in the Dallas-Fort Worth community for prevention education with music, arts, mentorship. And we come in and we work with their strengths. And we help them find their passion, and we help them find what makes them happy. And we work with the older children. So I'll kind of go back a little. Imagine that program is for elementary children. And then, I'm so sorry, middle school children. And then the I'm Strong program is for high school. And so with the high school, we work with them, trying to help them through the mentorship, through different community businesses, that if they they want to be a chef or they want to try, we put that in front of them, and we let them start figuring out what makes them happy, what triggers that this is kind of what I want to do. And then we start working through that. And so I'm going to through that, but I wanted to kind of go through a few things with the what happens, this is a community, these unfortunately are so many of our children and of our loved ones that we have lost through the years of from overdoses. And just a little statistic that 2017 was the worst year so far. Unfortunately, I know that what is going on in the country right now, that the overdoses have just exponentially just grown, and as along with suicide. And then, as kind of what Derek had said earlier about being the epidemic, it is the epidemic of our generation. And it's staggering, the amount of losses that we have through opioid overdoses. And then, so for me, I always am a solution person. When there's an issue or a problem, I'm like, what can we do? And so as a community, we just kind of help the community understand that through the clean needle exchanges. I know a lot of people, it's kind of back and forth on that, but it does actually make a difference. Then of course with the naloxone, it is a life-saving tool, and everybody should have it in their toolbox. When you have some time, maybe take a look at the hub and spoke system. This is where, to do with the treatment centers, this is a really cool, I won't go into it too long or into it, but write it down and take a look at it, because it's pretty interesting when you start to see that the ways that we can have solutions. And then also, you know, do the prevention with the new generations of opioid misuse, which comes to communication, education, and prevention, so that, you know, we can slow that down and just stop it eventually, hopefully. And then being able to address the mental health issues that we have here, that is so, it's so big, and nobody understands that if people don't get the help that they truly need, that unfortunately a lot of them will turn to drugs, because again, it's that warm blanket. It's that, this makes me feel really good, and I just am going to continue to use. And then of course, you know, there's chronic pains that obviously, you know, through accidental issues that can also lead to addiction. And one of the other issues that so many people don't talk about is the elderly, that there are unfortunately a lot of overdoses with elderly, just because they have forgotten. And that's one of the things that Sherry had mentioned, was the little timer. That is huge for, especially if an elderly lives by themselves, or they're alone during the daytime. And also, I mean, anybody could use these for any situation. I mean, it's not just for that, but I highly suggest that you reach out to Sherry and Jen, and if you need these are really good tools also. And then to educate the public, and that's one of the things that I love about what Sherry and Jen are doing. It's education, and when knowledge is power. And when we are able to understand and know things, it just gives us that, okay, we can do this. And you just keep teaching and teaching and teaching. And it does change. It does change the atmosphere around the community. And then the stigma attached. I mean, oh my goodness, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, there was very few people that knew about CAS, because I was so embarrassed. I thought that I, as a mom, had done something wrong, that it was my fault. And so I didn't talk to hardly anybody except the few that I could trust. And then also, we need to change the language. It's when you address somebody or a group of people as those people, when you start calling them druggies, when you say the things like that, it doesn't help the situation. And we as a society, we need to change the language in how we address the situation and those involved. So back in 2015, the Texas State Legislature, the Senate Bill 1462 was brought, and it is a law establishing standing orders, making the life-saving medication naloxone or Narcan available without a prescription at all Texas pharmacies. This was huge. So anybody can walk into a pharmacy and buy one of these. And if I just highly suggest that if you can, to go in and get one and do your due diligence, check the pharmacies. They're anywhere, the ones that Jen was saying, it's about, and you can find them 100 to 150. So again, do your due diligence before you go to see if, as long as they have them in stock and the cost. And we at Love Cassidy, we do give the naloxone to anybody that needs it. At the end of this presentation, you can either email us, call us, or whatever. If you are in need of one, we are happy to send one out to you. And again, anybody needs these. Everybody needs these. I carry 2 in my car, and I travel with them because you never ever know when a situation will arise that this could save somebody's life. And then again, there is a standing prescription in the state of Texas. You can, Google that, the Senate Bill 1462, and read about that. And some of the risk factors I wanted to talk about really, really quick was loss of tolerance. And so many people coming out of like jail or treatment centers, they don't realize that their tolerance is gone, and you cannot go back to where you were. And so the loss of tolerance, unfortunately, can send you into an overdose. And I'm looking at my time. So mixing the drugs, using alone, never, ever, ever use alone, ever. And then the variations, of course, in the strength of the street drugs can truly make a difference also. And I'm going to go on because I know I'm kind of squishing on times, but also preventing the opioid overdose deaths. I encourage you to call 911 if it is a situation where you really do need the help and someone's passing away. And if you don't have access to the naloxone or the Narcan, please call 911 because it will and can save a life. And let's see where we at. So opposite of addiction is connection. And that is where we come in with the community, because one-on-ones, face-to-face, when someone knows that you are connecting with them, it really does make a difference in how they feel about themselves, especially when it's every day. And this is one of my favorite. It's the word here, it's striatum, and it's a part of a region in the base of the forebrain. And you can Google that really quick for yourself. I won't go into reading all of this, but basically it is hope in the very brain region that can that can fuel addiction. But by connecting with other people over and over and over again, with opioid use disorders can reduce their compulsive behaviors and their chance of relapse or overdose. It's amazing how we as humans, that connectedness can make or break us. And it is a life and death sometimes. It is when you feel all alone and that nobody understands you, nobody understands where you're at, what you're going through. And so it's just, I don't know. For me, kindness is just one of the biggest things that we can show on people and to spread, especially with what's going on right now. There's so much, and people there are just a lot of people that are lost, and just showing that little bit of kindness and love towards somebody can truly, because you don't know what they're dealing with, can truly make a difference in somebody's life. And then my favorite quote is, treat people as if they were what they ought to be and help them to become what they are capable of being. And that is one of our big things at LoveCast, because we really truly believe that no matter where a child is or anybody, that they can become who they're supposed to be with the strength, with the support of those around them. And so that's what we really, really push that at LoveCast. So this is where you can reach us at lovecastcity.org is our website. You can reach us on this phone number, or reach out via email. If you have any questions, you want to talk, I talk a lot to moms, dads, just, that's what we're here for. Just to educate, to help, and the kids are just our priority. We love them, but you know, we're also here for the parents also. So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was wonderful. We really appreciate your sharing your personal story with us this evening. Our next guest speaker is Anthony Sedlacek. I knew I was going to miss that up. I'm sorry, Anthony. Anthony is a recovery advocate and has a long background working in addiction and treatment. He most recently moved to Texas from Huntington Beach, California, where he worked as lead case manager, IOP group facilitator, and marketing outreach coordinator for a residential treatment facility. Anthony is currently a dedicated sober coach for IN Vivo in DFW. He also serves as a coalition coordinator for drug prevention resources in Waxahachie, Texas. Anthony is a recovery coach, registered recovery worker, and has a BA in journalism, public relations. In the past, he's produced TV commercials and was a writer for a TV news station. He is extremely passionate about his own personal recovery. He has a sobriety date of October the 17th, 2013, so we're looking at 7 years. He maintains an active and healthy lifestyle by running, biking, and swimming. He enjoys spending time with family, boating, traveling, and going to concerts. Let us please welcome Anthony.
Thank you, Sherry. What I'm about to tell you, I'll tell you what it was like, how bad it got, and what I did to get myself out of the situation. And a lot of what I'm going to say will validate everything Derek, the pharmacist, just shared with us also. I come from a wonderful and loving family. The first American-born Sedlacek in my family. My dad is a Czech immigrant. My mom's from a small town in Minnesota. I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and lived there till I was 7 years old. Then we moved to Edmond, Oklahoma, where I attended elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. It was a great place to grow up. Let's see, I first tried drugs and alcohol. It was alcohol first, followed by marijuana when I was just in 8th grade. At a very young age, I discovered that I like putting things into my body that changed the way I feel. Elementary school, I have memories of being bullied. To this day, I still remember how bad it made me feel. It's always stayed with me to this day. Middle school, high school, I became popular. Had lots of friends. I was social, very involved in school. Drugs and alcohol were present. Began, like I said, in middle school, and looking back, I can definitely see that's when it began affecting me. Academics became more challenging. Grades went down. Anxiety began presenting, depression here and there. But I didn't know what anxiety and depression were at the time. It was the 90s, and doctors rarely diagnosed anything then. I was aware something was going on, but I didn't pay attention to it at the time. College, same thing, mostly alcohol, some drugs, still felt in control, lots of parties, very social, good times, struggled with grades, increased depression and anxiety. It wasn't until my mid-20s and into my 30s when I completely lost control. Known as the guy who knew where the party was, always had access to drugs, could get VIP into nightclubs, limousines, all that stuff. I was definitely portraying somebody I was not. It was all an act. People thought my life seemed luxurious, glamorous, exciting. Deep down, it was empty and miserable. Those people weren't around when I was waking up. sick and just miserable. But I definitely was a faker. My addiction got really bad before I even knew I was addicted. That's how it happens. Those who are addicted are usually the last ones to know. I discovered I really like combining alcohol and opioids, and as well as other pills. The pill bottles that said, "Do not take with alcohol," to me, that meant, Tony, take 2 of these and wash it down with tequila. But yeah, like I said, it was progressive. I had a meticulous order I would use. I would start out binge drinking, and then I would swallow usually pharmaceutical opiates. And then when I got kind of drowsy, I would use a lot of cocaine. And then when I finally wanted to crash, I would use lots of Xanax. And I had no idea what a deadly combination I was playing with at the time. I thought I'd discovered some secret ingredient to feeling great. My tolerance increased, and that good feeling I was always chasing never felt the same. I could never get there again, no matter how much I used. I began using more and more, but could never ever get that feeling. I was actually able to maintain that lifestyle for years. Time went on, things got worse and worse until there was hardly anything left of me. I was so frail and unhealthy. But again, I did not see it. I was in such a fog. Most of my close friends from the good old days, they'd grown up, they had families, they had successful careers. I found myself surrounded by strangers who, the only thing, looking back now, the only thing we had in common was drugs and alcohol. You take the drugs and alcohol away, I mean, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. I got even more depressed, began isolating. My health was in shambles, even worse. My body was dependent on benzodiazepines, which is Xanax, pharmaceutical opiates, and alcohol. But again, I had no idea there was any dependency there because I had never tried to stop. By that point, I had full-blown mental health issues. I wanted to die, actually attempted suicide twice, tried to overdose. The last time I did that, I remember regretting it as I tried. I slipped away into sleep. Amazingly, I woke up the next day. Hours later, something felt different. It really scared me. It was then I tried to make life worth living. I decided I wanted to, give it a shot. And after I felt like I was knocking on death's door, enough was enough. I was afraid to ask my family for help. But when I did, they were just loving and supportive. Basically, they said they'd been waiting and hoping and praying for me to reach out. I thought I was fooling everybody, but at that point in my life, I obviously wasn't. Everyone could tell. I received so much love and support. For once, I didn't feel alone. But the love and support was there all along. I just, was so numb with all the substances, failed to see it. The next thing I knew, I was on an airplane headed to treatment in Orange County, California. When I arrived at treatment, I downplayed my use because I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't report the extent of the alcohol I was using or the benzodiazepines or the opiates. Well, about 24 to 36 hours later, I suffered a major seizure. Come to find out, it's caused by withdrawal from all those substances. So I was withdrawing from opioids, alcohol, cocaine, and benzodiazepines simultaneously. I was sent to the ER in an ambulance. My detox was the most terrifying and painful experience I've ever been through. I was hallucinating, was hearing voices, I had tremors. I felt every single withdrawal symptom that's in the book. I had them. I mean, it was so bad. I'd never been through anything like that because I'd never tried to stop using. It took about 3 weeks for my body to stabilize. I had to be hospitalized for 3 weeks. Doctor said I could have died. To this day, I'm absolutely haunted by that experience, the detox. But I've learned to use it to my advantage. Sometimes when my brain tells me, you can have a few drinks, you can drink like a gentleman, I immediately think back to the horror and pain I felt during that time. It was so bad. Got out of that, did 90 days residential treatment where I just completely surrendered and did everything they told me to do. Even the stuff I didn't want to do, I did it anyway. I worked a program, worked really hard, began experiencing life again. The lights came back on. I had feelings, I was present. It was hard, but everything began feeling better. Addiction is 110% progressive, but with proper willingness, so is recovery. My story is pretty common. I'm proud to say relapse is not part of my story. I think from my experience in detox, I never crossed back over. In early recovery, I found I have a niche for helping people. I began volunteering at a kind of a famous non-medical detox in Orange County, California. It's kind of like a homeless shelter. It's non-medical. I mean, it's just, you really see some things there. It eventually led to a part-time job working for a treatment facility. The more I worked, the more I wanted to learn. And so over the last 6 years, my career has just progressed and progressed. Taking classes, I've gotten certifications, training, seminars, conferences. Can't get enough. But it really doesn't feel like a career. It's become my normal. It's more of a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. At the end of the day, I've learned my best resource is my own personal experience and how I turn things around. When I encounter people struggling with addiction, it's my mission to help them understand they can break free and there is hope. I just want people to find what I found and to feel what I feel. I always tell them, if I can do it, you can do it. Helping people has been the biggest part of my recovery, and now I get to do it for a living. It keeps me accountable. I can't imagine doing anything else. In California, I actually worked in a medical detox, or square one. You name it, I've seen it all. The worst of the worst, but it was all relatable. I've been in their shoes, and I feel for every person who walked through the door, I just wanted to save them all. Sadly, could not save them all. Not all of them made it. I'm sad to say I've seen more death than imaginable. Working in treatment, obviously I'm exposed to more people living that lifestyle. But since 2013, over 100 people, I think it's in the 120s now, 120 something people since 2013, people I know have died from overdose. I used to keep a folder with their intake photos. I still have it. It was all fentanyl. It's just such a deadly substance. I've actually, when I worked in that medical detox, I actually administered Narcan, and it is very effective. Urge you to get training on it if you don't already. I did case management in residential treatment as well as detox. I facilitated groups in outpatient programs, became a Texan in spring of 2019, moved here from Huntington Beach, California. I work for Drug Prevention Resources. I serve as coalition coordinator in Waxahachie, and then my other job, I specialize in interventions, do sober coaching, relapse prevention. I help clients create healthy routines. I do individualized planning for people who just completed treatment. I help them adapt back into real life after treatment. Connecting them with the right doctors, therapists, setting up exercise routines, very, very active. It's so important. It helps so much. Improving diets, getting them plugged into recovery meetings, fellowship. I also help families communicate and understand what their loved ones are going through to bridge the gap on both sides. Today, life is better than I could ever imagine. I love my work. I get to live life with my better half, Michelle, and our two boys, Dylan and Daniel. Michelle also has multiple years sobriety. As a family, we like to keep things simple. We appreciate each other and we appreciate what we have. My addiction absolutely took me to the depths of hell. And I'm proud to say, celebrating 7 years of sobriety this week. So that's a long story short. Thanks so much for listening. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing your story, and congratulations on 7 years. I look forward to collaborating with you with the impact communities in Ellis County. I know we could do a lot of good work together. Well, we're down to the last little bit of our presentation this evening, so we're going to go through a few questions that I've had come in. The first question I have is for Derek. When should we stop taking medications, pain medications? Do we need to finish the prescription? And you'll have to unmute.
Oh, I was trying to get to the button. Sorry, the internet here started spazzing out on me, so I had to go back to my phone. So, so when should you stop taking prescription medications? Is that what it asked?
Yes, when you should stop taking pain medications.
Pain medications specifically. Okay, so On the pain medications, I've never seen one that didn't say take only as needed. So when your pain is gone, you need to stop taking it. So you take it as directed on there. Typically, the idea is you want to go longer in between those doses, not shorter. So if it says every 8 hours, hey, if you can push it to 10 hours or longer, that's great. When you don't have the pain, don't take it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Suzanne, I have a question for you. How can we, let's see, how can we best respond if a friend has a child or family member who is struggling with an addiction?
Support. Be there, support them, give them all the information that you can. Like I said earlier, there wasn't a lot when I first started this journey, and there's so many organizations, there's so many nonprofits, different things out there that you can find to help your friend, but support. Listen to them. Don't tell them that they're going through a phase. Don't say, oh, you know, they'll grow out of it, or, oh, they're all doing it, they're all just being kids. No, you as a mom or a dad, you know, your gut instinct says, this is something is wrong with my child, and you just never, ever, ever give up on getting them help, ever.
That's
So just support.
Okay. Tony, I have a similar question here. How can we best support someone that is newly in recovery? Oh, you'll have to unmute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Well, she said it. Support. Less is more. Avoid one of the biggest things. Avoid you statements and avoid judgment. And I would strongly encourage family members to get involved in their own support group, like Al-Anon. It is really tough if you've never been in, you know, the person in recovery's shoes. And, you know, my experience working with families, it's like every single family member kind of overwhelms the individual with advice, and before they know it, they just get overwhelmed, and it causes issues. So I would encourage family members to get involved in their own support groups. There's Al-Anon, there's another one called Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. There's a whole bunch of them. They're all available on Zoom. But you know, but in interacting with the person, avoid judgment, avoid you statements, and just really listen. That's key. Just listen to what they have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think this will be a question for Derek. It says, will naloxone hurt someone who isn't having an overdose?
Good question. No, naloxone will not.
Oh, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
For some reason, we're not getting, I can hear you very lightly.
I'll talk louder. Is that better?
A little bit.
All right. All right. So no, naloxone will not hurt if you give it and someone doesn't need it. You cannot overdose on naloxone.
Okay. So it would be safe. If you think that somebody's having an overdose and it might not be that, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. It won't hurt them. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. I think that's actually most of the questions that we have on here. Well, Derek, while you're on there real quick, should prescription medications be shared, and why not?
Absolutely not.
No, well, and
now we can hear you.
Yes, and specifically with opioids, it would be a federal law, since they're controlled substances, to give that to anybody else, not prescribed. So one, you're not breaking the law. But the other reason why is, so there's so many different things. The human body is amazing, and there's so many different things going on inside the body. You know, the way one metabolizes it and another doesn't can change. And then you don't know all the health things going on with person A if you give it to them, or the other drug. So you got that drug-drug interaction, drug health state interaction and stuff. There's lots of different things. And the physician went to school for that long, plus residency, plus fellowships and all that kind of stuff, so they could learn how to do that. You got to trust the physician on that.
Okay. So we really encourage people to talk to their doctors or talk to their pharmacists if,
Please
you know,
do.
if they have questions. Absolutely. Well, I know we're running close on time, and we want to thank everybody for participating with us this evening. Don't run away just yet. We're about to do our drawing for the 3 HEB $50 gift cards. And I'm going to turn it over to Jen. And if I have forgotten anything, maybe she can kind of help fill in on that. Be sure to, at the end of the presentation, you should get a little deal that pops up in your browser to do the evaluation. We would really appreciate looking that over for us, filling it out, because it only helps us to do a better job when we do these in the future. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen now.
Thanks, Sherry, and thanks again, everybody, for participating tonight, for attending this presentation. Thank you to our speakers. I learned a lot. I learned everything from just some really valuable information to hope and just an understanding and better how to support people going through these things. So thank you very much. Just a few things before we get to the drawing. Like Sherry said, evaluations for tonight can be found on a tab in your browser. We have been reading these. We love your ideas for more presentations, and we're really taking those in and planning more. So we would love ideas. Still, thank you very much for those. You'll also be able to find the link for the evaluation in email. And then somebody might throw the link up there in the chat as well. We'll see. Let's see, what else? Okay, and again, thank you so much to our sponsors, United Way, for sponsoring these events. We very much appreciate them and all the work they do in our communities as well. All right, and finally, here's the QR code also for the evaluation, the other option you have to fill it out. And Sherry, did you have any other words to say tonight before we let everybody go?
Well, I want to say thank you to Reach for allowing us to do the work that we do in our communities in Ellis and Johnson counties. I absolutely love my job, and to be able to partner with people in our communities, our schools, people like Derek and Suzanne and Tony. It's a learning process through everything, and it takes all of us to be able to make a difference in our communities. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.